Hey folks, it's Tom, your Frugal Prepper. So, for those of you who might be watching this for the first time or don't know, I have an extras channel. It's Frugal Prepper 2. I put a link to it down below. I put all kinds of extra content on there that's really too long or too boring for my main channel. But on this channel, I cover my life. My journey through diabetes and overweightness to a carnivore, my guns, my garden, because I do still eat some veggies even though I'm a carnivore, and now I'm giving away free cars. So I'm buying cheap cars on Facebook Marketplace that have problems, and I'm fixing everything that's wrong with them and doing videos on them, and then I give them to somebody in need that has a serious need for a vehicle. They had one die, they're a single parent, they have a big family, they, whatever, they're a veteran maybe, but they have a real need for a car and very limited money. I give them the car and I go buy another one. So this is the Chevy Malibu behind me, and if you'd like to be a part of that, go join my Patreon. My Patreon doesn't really have a lot of special content on it that isn't available to free members. So you can go to Patreon and join my Patreon for free, see extra pictures, updates, videos, behind the scenes kind of stuff. And I make that available to everybody pretty much. But you can also join for just $1 a month to help buy and fix cars for people in need. Alright, so today's video is going to be about the American Diabetes Association. Dr. Ken Berry did an excellent video that said, do we need a new ADA? I thought that was just a wonderful video. I'll put a link to it below. And Dave Mack from No Carb Life did a great video about somebody who got fired from the ADA for not wanting to recommend a recipe with a half a cup of Splenda in it. And so Splenda is, I will have one once in a while in my coffee, right? Here's a pack of it here. It is good, but it does have actual sugar in it. It has dextrose and maltodextrin in it. And while they classify those as no carbs, no calories, your body treats them and breaks them down into sugar and uses them like sugar and spikes your blood sugar. So nowadays I can have a pack of that now and then, but I mostly use allulose sweetener in like my coffee. I just put a little spoonful of allulose in there, stir it up. Or I just have it with no sugar, right? So she got fired because she didn't want to recommend this recipe that they put all this Splenda in. And the thing is that the ADA, the AHA, the medical schools that your doctor attends, the pharmaceutical companies and the food companies fund them, right? So they are getting all of their money from these donors. That's their ability to exist, and for all these people that work there to keep their jobs rests on companies like Idaho Potatoes giving them lots of money to make recipes and Splenda. And also pharmaceutical companies are big donors because they're on the other end of it. They get to try to provide a pharmaceutical solution that you can add for the food that you add that makes you sicker, right? And so I just wanted to talk about this from my personal experience. Back when I was first diagnosed as diabetic, I did not have a regular doctor. I was peeing all the time, feeling like crap, really thirsty, didn't know what was going on. So I went to urgent care and they said, you're diabetic. They ran some blood sugar or test or whatever, so you're diabetic. You have to go see a regular doctor. And so I got in with the regular doctor, and he was a nice guy. He was a skinny guy who had no problem with diabetes. So you always have to wonder if you're really getting the truth from somebody that hasn't experienced it fully. But, you know, he said, you're diabetic, you're going to go on these metformin, and we're going to give you a shot of insulin right now because my blood sugar was so high the meter wouldn't read it. So it was over 550. And I had an A1C in the 17s. So I did that. I just started eating very carefully. I got off of the regular soda pop that I was drinking 20 cans of a day. And things went pretty well. I started to lose weight. My A1Cs came down to normal ranges, and I was taking the 5 metformin a day. And then I went through a breakup with a girlfriend. Old news now, but I was really depressed before. I'd never been broken up with. I'd always done the breaking up, and I didn't understand. She kissed me that morning, told me she loved me, and she left a note on the table when I came home from work that said, I can't do this anymore, leave me alone. And I didn't know what was going on, and it was someone that I was going to go ring shopping for to ask for their hand in marriage. So I was pretty broken up, and her son, I loved her son, and my son loved her, and I loved her dog, and she just packed up all of her stuff one day and left. So I just got really depressed and upset, and I thought, you know, I'm losing this weight so that I can get skinny and find me a hot, attractive wife. And so I just didn't eat for like 90 days. I lost 80 or 90 pounds. I was not diabetic anymore. I wasn't on the metformin. I had normal A1Cs. I looked good. And I met my wife. And a week after our first date, I asked her to marry me. And we got married a couple months later. And we've been married ever since. It's going to be 19 years this year, I think. And we love each other more than ever. So when I met her and we got married, I started eating the pasta and the bread and the junk again, and I quickly got fat again and became diabetic again. And went back to the doctor, and I just thought, well, you know, I can't just not eat and lose weight. I have to find some way to keep this, you know, going. And so I went on medications, more medications, eventually insulin, went to the diabetic nutritionist. Diabetic nutritionists, every one of them I met are actually diabetics. They've all been insulin dependent diabetics too. But they tell you to eat all these carbohydrates, like 120 grams of carbs a day. That's more than I eat in 4 weeks now, right? And you know, you can have anything you want. You just have to have it in moderation and blah, blah, blah. And 3 meals a day with snacks. And go to the ADA website and look at their recipes. And the ADA website's full of just things like fruit pie fillings. And I mean, just crazy things that are super carbohydratey, super sugary, very bad for diabetics to eat. But did they tell you, you can have like this much of it, you know, you can have a little tiny piece of it. And so you eat that, and that counts as a meal, and you're like, I'm hungry, right? And that just makes you hungry and angry all the time. And then you will fall off the wagon because you're angry, and they just took you to a pizza bar for lunch. And you're looking at all this pizza, and you're looking at your little crappy salad, and you're like, I want pizza. And eventually you break down, you have pizza, you have too much of it, your blood sugar spikes up, you take extra insulin, and then you put on more weight, and you get more diabetic, and it's just the cycle of hangry, binging, and then regretting it, having high sugar, putting on 10 pounds when you go back to the doctor, being more diabetic, having worse A1Cs, and it's that cycle just continues to repeat itself. And you know, you're hungry and angry all the time. So I eventually ended up on over 300 units of insulin a day. I was on the U500, and I was on Novolog, fast acting for before my meals. and I was still trying to follow these recipes and diets, and they just left me hungry. And then I would cheat, and like nighttime right before bed was the hardest time. I'd be like, chocolate chip cookies, some Oreos, you know. And I knew I wasn't supposed to eat that, but I was just hangry all the time. And so about 5 years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I saw a video from Dr. Ken Berry on this gun channel as FX Hummel, I think is what his name is. And he did a video with Dr. Berry. Now, he's a real, exercisey guy, and I never was. And I watched Dr. Berry, though, and then I watched more of Dr. Berry's videos. I'm like, this guy kind of makes sense. This is before he was carnivore. He was really just pure keto. But I did keto, and I started losing weight. My blood sugar started coming down. And so today I'm like 200 pounds less, a little more than 200 pounds less. I've lost like 200 plus pounds. I'm not diabetic anymore. I feel healthy. My knees have healed. My arms healed. My vision's no longer going out for macular degeneration and diabetic retinopathy. I just feel great. And yeah, I had a stroke in October. And I was off work for 3 months, and I did recovery from that stroke. And that's because my blood pressure is still ungodly high. But they have done every test since then. They've scanned my heart. They've done the CTA scan. The coronary calcium score is a 0. My CTA scan shows absolutely no soft or hard blockages of any kind. They've done all my blood work. They've scanned my kidneys for tumors. They've just done every kind of scan and test, and a stress test, and a nuclear test, and a sonogram test. They've done every single test they can. And my at the time, my vegan cardiologist couldn't find anything wrong. My LDL this last time was a 104. My triglycerides were 62. They have been at 36 before, so 62 is a little higher, but still well below the 150, the limit. And my HDL was like 86. So, I won't take a statin. That's what they all say is, since you had a stroke, you need to take a statin. And I won't go into that, but no, you don't want to take statins ever. And so, I'm healed, I'm better, and I feel 300% better today after having a stroke than I did when I was diabetic on 300 plus units of insulin a day, right? Yes, I still get a little lightheaded, and my right leg's a little numb. So I have a hard time sometimes, just like, I'll take a step and I'll be like, whoa, and I'll take another step. Just, I lose my balance just a touch, but it's really not even noticeable. And I have a little numbness on the right side of my face, but I'm happy, So, but the American Diabetes Association treats this diabetic thing like it's a lifetime disease. And it is a lifetime disease if you follow the ADA's recommendations, if you follow their, diet, if you do what most doctors will tell you to do, follow standard traditional medical treatment, follow that diet. They are all funded by the pharmaceutical and the food companies. The food companies want to keep selling you cheap carbohydrate food that they can store on a shelf and don't have to refrigerate. And the pharmaceutical companies want to keep selling you the medicine that solves the problem from eating those foods. And the doctors and the ADA, all that just wraps you into a vicious circle of becoming more and more diabetic. And you'll end up dying. And it won't be an easy death. It'll be going blind, losing legs, losing feet, losing kidneys. It's a long, slow, painful death. And just so you know, I don't remember what the study was, but they did a study where they took people who controlled their blood sugar with medications and insulin. and people who just let their blood sugar be out of control. And guess which group had the most complications like blindness, leg amputations, foot amputations, dialysis from kidney failure? There was no difference. The difference was not statistically significant. So adding all these insulins to keep the blood sugar low isn't solving the problem. You need to quit eating sugar and carbohydrates. Here's the beautiful thing. You can follow the ADA diet and you can be hangry all the time and always blowing it up and then eating a bunch of donuts and then regretting it. Or you can just buy meat. And you can go and eat as much of a 5-pound chuck roast sliced up, fried in bacon grease as you can possibly shove down your face. And you wake up the next day and you lose 2 pounds. And you won't have to be hungry. In fact, you probably won't be hungry the next morning. You might be a little hungry at lunch. You probably won't have to eat until dinner the next day. And guess what you do? You chop up another chuck roast, you fry it in bacon grease, and you stick it down. And you can repeat that process every single day for the rest of your life. And you'll never get tired of chuck roast fried in bacon grease. It'll be good because you'll be hungry when you eat. And your hunger will be different. You'll be at work at lunch going, I'm getting a little hungry. Yeah, I can wait till I get home. No, I'm hungry. I gotta go to the vending machine. I gotta find some donuts. No. It just, I'm feeling a little rumble down there. I'll eat later. And you go on about your day and you go on about your business. Hunger isn't a big deal. You don't get hangry hungry. And you can eat as much as you want, as much as you can possibly stuff down your throat into your stomach. And you lose weight and you solve the diabetes. You get strong. This is all solid muscle up here, right? And you feel wonderful. But yeah, that's my experience with diabetes. That's where I'm at with it today. Today I have normal A1Cs. And yeah, I occasionally do have a little cheat on somebody's birthday or a retirement party. I'll have a little piece of cake or something. But mostly I just stick with it. Because when I do eat a piece of cake, I feel like crap for the rest of the day. Just feel crappy. My blood sugar doesn't get high, but I feel crappy. And I just don't like that, so I don't do it that often. And I mostly stick with meat, but I do eat some onions, some peppers, occasionally some broccoli or some Brussels sprouts, some low-carb veggies. I love spaghetti squash, so I have that like once or twice a month. But other than that, I'm pretty much I just eat meat. Occasionally I have some cheese, but I don't eat a lot of cheese. I eat butter, but I cook in lard, tallow, rendered duck fat, real animal fats. And I occasionally have some mayonnaise that's made with avocado oil. And I just feel great, and food is not that big of a deal to me anymore, I only go to the grocery store because I have to, because I'm running out of meat. And I run back to the meat section, I fill up my cart, and I leave. It takes 5 minutes, and I'm done. That's all there is to it. I don't go shopping at the grocery store and Lucky Charms and Captain Crunch and bread. I'm not in love with the grocery store anymore like I used to be, because food doesn't equal happiness for me. It doesn't tie into making me happy. It's something that I do. I fry up a bunch of chuck roast and some bacon grease. I eat as much of it as I can, and 5 minutes later I'm full and I'm back out working on a car or doing something else with my life. Besides eating and cooking and making recipes and adding all these ingredients and mixing them together, or driving to McDonald's and waiting in a long line. I don't mess with any of that stuff. I eat as much as I want till I'm full, and then I go back to life. So, do we need a new American Diabetes Association? We just need doctors to tell us the truth. To tell us that diabetes is caused by your diet. Your diet is poison. All of these refined seed oils, all of these refined things that you eat that come in a box at the grocery, all of this fast food that you get, it's killing you and it's causing you to be diabetic. Stop eating it. Go keto or carnivore, and you can not be diabetic anymore. All right, I'll talk to y'all later. This is Tom with Frugal Prepper.